Hi, I'm Lauren Wilson, a realtor with App Properties. Born and raised right here in Central Indiana and a Hoosier through and through. Selling your home is a massive undertaking, and I completely understand what that is. That's why when you work with me, we put a great plan together to make sure that when your home comes to the market, it is in the best light possible. Again, I'm Lauren Wilson, 317-590-2290. 317-590-2290. Let's put a plan together and get your home sold.
Right now, everything's expensive. That includes things you need around the house. If your water heater, water softener, or well pump goes out, or even if your toilet stops working, you could be looking at a major expense. Don't let your next call to a plumber break the bank. Call John at Black Sheep Plumbing. John is a Hoosier lifer who takes pride in and stands behind his work. That's why all basic services and repairs with Black Sheep Plumbing come with a 2-year parts and labor guarantee, with water heaters having a 6-year parts and tank guarantee. Call or text Black Sheep Plumbing for all your needs today and speak directly with John, the owner. 765-315-7558. That's Black Sheep Plumbing at 765-315-7558.
Are you a Clay County resident who is ready to be part of creating a brighter future for our citizens? Doug Cobb is running for county commissioner and will bring fresh perspective to the table. A local farm and business owner, he has skin in the game of our county's success. He knows that a great team can accomplish so much more than any one of us alone and is ready to create a brighter future for Clay County together. The committee to elect Doug Cobb approves this ad. Paid for by Linda Cheatham.
It is the Rob Kendall Show, speaking once again with one of the best reporters in the business. Nobody covers news and government and politics like the Indiana Capital Chronicle, the great Niki Kelly. Hello.
Hello.
Is that your mansion behind you? We've never actually got a glimpse
My
into
mansion?
your Boone County mansion.
Well, I wish I lived in a mansion, but it is my lovely Boone County home.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, I thought there were some interesting articles this week, and let's start with the article you guys had about population in Indiana, how it is growing,
Yep.
but it seems to all be growing in a very targeted area.
Yeah, I mean, central Indiana is the place where the growth is occurring, which, I mean, I think we'll take it over it not growing anywhere, right? And our growth rate is faster than Kentucky and Ohio and Michigan and Illinois. So those are good things. But I think everyone sort of knows that we also need to figure out how to get other areas in the state to grow as well, aside from sort of central Indiana, and like Allen County was up there too.
Yeah, we had the mayor of Terre Haute on yesterday, and he was saying the same thing, which is this economic growth, development, numbers of people, it all seems very targeted at the center part of our state. Does Braun, do they have a plan for everywhere, not in the sort of 9 or 10 targeted counties?
Yeah, I mean, that remains to be seen. I know lawmakers have become a little frustrated with smaller communities, and of course, who don't want to grow, they turn down any, not even just, I don't even mean like the big data centers or big things. I mean, they turn down sort of basic growth because they like the charm they have. But also, then you don't have a reason for people to move there. They need jobs there to move there. And so I think that's going to be something we have to figure out in the next couple of years.
Yeah, there was some staggering data in that like 16 or something counties have lost population since it was the year 2000 maybe. I mean, that's pretty hard to believe.
Yeah, it was over 2000 to 2025, and there are a lot of the very small rural and mid-sized counties that you would think of.
Niki Kelly from the Indiana Capital Chronicle is our guest. Okay, so you guys also had a very interesting article about data centers. There was supposed to be legislation that said, hey, the data centers have got to give a pretty good size of loot back to local governments where they go, and how that got really watered down.
Yeah, throughout this session, in a couple different bills, there was movement to require data centers to give sort of some of the money they're saving on their sales tax bill for electricity to local governments, just sort of incentivize. And it did pass in House Bill 1210, but when we looked really close at the wording in typical like fashion of legislative writing, it seems kind of similar to the 1%, and it would be millions until you really look at the very detailed way it was written. Technically, it could be $0 because it says up to 1% of their savings. And also, it doesn't count. The original plan was 1% of their electric bill, which was a lot larger than 1% of their savings. They also took out any inventory or equipment that was going to be part of that as well. Basically, I think Republicans just realized in the last couple days, and data centers talked to them about this, that it was going to be a pretty big hit for companies.
You guys, I think it was Ed Soliday, who's the head of the utilities in the House. He was like, well, it just seemed kind of big. And so we decided it should not be that big. And it just seems like nobody has any idea what to do with data centers. Am I wrong on this? Is there like there's no consensus whatsoever?
I'm sorry, say that again.
It just seems like there's no consensus on these data centers whatsoever.
Yeah, I think people are very much caught between understanding that their constituents don't want them, but also being aware that Indiana does need to grow. And some of that might be some data centers. And, so I think they're trying to figure out how to deal with that.
Niki Kelly from the Indiana Capital Chronicle is our guest. The No Kings protests were on Saturday. You had a reporter out there. She interviewed several people, and I thought that we talked about
Mhm.
some of their comments today. Okay, so my question to you is this like just an echo chamber, or are they getting more people to come? Like how does this thing shape out in terms of the attendees?
Yeah, I went out there too and talked to some people and hung out for about an hour. And so, look, some of the people are the same people who've come the other times, but yet then you'll find someone who's never come to one. I think our reporter talked to someone who hadn't been to a protest since the '60s. So I think probably there is a core group of people, but you also got to remember that's just the Indianapolis one. There were 60 other of these, and so I can't imagine that there aren't some people coming out that, previously wouldn't have done that or haven't.
How do Democrats in Indiana, who are obviously deep in the wilderness in terms of power, how do they capitalize on these people? Because the middle ground isn't probably mostly what shows up to these things. So how do you keep these sort of, we'll be nice and call them more passionate people happy, yet stake out a middle ground that can win you a Zionsville or a Carmel or a Fishers?
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of Democrats talking to us about how they feel like the Democrats are not standing up enough against these kind of moves by the Trump administration that they were out there against, whether it be ICE, whether it be the war in Iran, whether it be deportations. I mean, there are a lot of different topics that people had, although the Iran war was a really big one this time, obviously new, and there was a lot on the Epstein list on signs and chants and things like that.
Well, and it was you or your reporter interviewed some guy, and he was like all over Trump and the Epstein list. And we talked about it today. We said, okay, fair to say that Trump knew Epstein, no doubt about it. And he should have been more candid
Absolutely.
about it. But like Evan Bayh's in the Epstein files, I think, for crying out loud. Nobody thinks Evan Bayh was doing anything nefarious. Everybody's in the Epstein files.
There are a lot of people in the Epstein files. Obviously, that doesn't make them all equal.
You're right. Okay, so each week, you, in addition to your fabulous reporting, you write sort of an opinion piece. I think your writing is very interesting. Tell us about your column this week because I thought you hit on some interesting stuff.
Yeah, this week I just looked at the issue of nonprofits becoming more involved in politics. And we've seen it here in Indiana for a few cycles now, but this year the Hoosier Leadership for America is definitely doing a lot of this for Senate candidates. And so my point is just look, the point of having campaign finance laws is transparency, right? You can see who's giving to someone, you know who they're going to quote owe favors to, that kind of thing. And now we've got this, I can get two mailers, in my mailbox. One of them I can know I can go on, I can see exactly who's giving them their money, who's financing them. The next one is from a nonprofit. I don't get to know anything about where their money is coming from. And I just don't think that's right. I think it undermines the system of transparency that we want in campaign law.
Yeah, and I thought your column was really good because you said the obvious, and you and I have talked about this before. These are campaign ads, right? They're not saying vote for or against someone, but the wording they're using, I think Liz Brown was one of the people you picked out a mailer against her. And it's like, that is the language they're using, the way they're describing the people. These are campaign ads, and they're able to operate different than everybody else.
I mean, theoretically, it's legal, though. If you look at the plain wording on the IRS website, it says that if there's any bias for or against one candidate, that it's not allowed. So, I mean, that's my point is we've lit this snowball and, the IRS isn't really looking at that. And again, if you want to question someone's vote or their old gas tax vote or how they handled immigration, fine. That stuff is absolutely fair game. But let us know who is financing these attacks so that we all know kind of what weight to give it.
Yeah, I mean, I heard one the other day where the ad was, and Donald Trump, it was Greg Walker, and Donald Trump called him a loser. And it's like, well, what does it have to do with Greg Walker's voting record? It is clearly a campaign ad.
Yeah. And I just think we've kind of snowballed past what the original intent of allowing nonprofits to get involved. It was voter education. And, they still are claiming, well, we're educating them on someone's voting record. But, if it's obviously going to impact and tilt a race, then I think that's a big deal.
Tell us about the fabulous Indiana Capital Chronicle and anything you want people to know about it.
Oh, yeah. Obviously, follow us at indianacapitalchronicle.com or subscribe to our morning newsletter or the weekend newsletter if you just want to get it once a week instead of 5. And we're getting ready we've been working on elections. We'll put our voter guide up next week.
It is one of the best in the business. We'd be totally lost to not have a show without them. They are the Indiana Capital Chronicle. Niki Kelly runs the show over there. Thank you, Niki Kelly.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're watching Rob Kendall Show.
Are you seeing cracks in mortar, moisture working through walls, facade or structural failure beginning to surface? Bramwell Mackay sets the standard for exterior and structural building solutions. Our 40-year master masons and industry experts address moisture intrusion, failing foundations, masonry deterioration, and more. From preserving historic landmarks to addressing modern building envelope issues, Bramwell Mackay delivers full-spectrum service with white-glove professionalism. In Indianapolis, call 812-33-BRICK. 812-33-BRICK.
Are you a Clay County resident who is ready to be part of creating a brighter future for our citizens? Doug Cobb is running for county commissioner and will bring fresh perspective to the table. A local farm and business owner, he has skin in the game of our county's success. He knows that a great team can accomplish so much more than any one of us alone and is ready to create a brighter future for Clay County together. The committee to elect Doug Cobb approves this ad. Paid for by Linda Cheatham.
Your bathroom fan could be secretly costing you thousands of dollars in damages. Most people don't even know this until the damage is done. With over 18 years of bathroom remodeling experience, here are 3 signs your fan is failing you without spending a dime on inspections. Sign number 1 is if you have foggy mirrors after you shower. This shows that your fan isn't pulling out enough moisture, which creates the perfect environment for mold. If you have a properly functioning bathroom fan that is the right size for your space, you shouldn't see much fogginess on your bathroom mirror at all. Sign number 2 is if you have bubbling, cracking, or peeling paint in your bathroom. This means moisture is soaking into your walls, slowly breaking down drywall, and even causing the wood framing behind it to rot. Sign number 3 is if you have mold buildup on your fan, ceilings, or walls. This is terrible for your health, but also could wreck your bathroom, costing you a fortune. If you're noticing any of these signs, here's what you can do.
Call Vent Savvy today at 317-300-4434. That's 317-300-4434 and mention Rob for a free attic inspection.